What's going on, y'all? Jordan. Another episode of Lightning Latest. Really excited for today's because, well, first it's my birthday, so pretty crazy. This year's already flown by, and I can't believe my birthday's already here. But it's time to get down to business. We're going to talk about the dream off season for the Bolts next season, next summer. Oliver Bjorkstrand's possible new deal as well, how that can tie in. Sam O'Reilly is another name that intrigues me. We talked about him a few days ago. We're going to discuss him again today, see if he's going to have an impact, and of course, we're going to finish on our patented what if. So let's crack it. First off, the dream offseason, what would it look like? What would it look like? What would next summer's perfect offseason look like? Well, any fan would tell you, oh, it would be great if we do it outside McDavid, Kirill Kaprizov, um, Jack Eichel, and Kel McCarr. I would absolutely love that. That'd be fantastic. Here's the problem. Don't have the money for it. However, we will have quite a bit in cap space. Projected at the moment to be around 28 million roughly, with the cap increase plus some free agents next summer. Remember, we got a few coming up, right? RFAs include JJ Moser, Maxim Groshev as well, which we haven't really talked about, or Roman Schmidt. We'll be talking about them moving forward as well because we have camp and everything else to start of season coming up. UFAs are bigger. Mitchell Chaffee probably won't be here. Darren Radish probably won't be here. But these next two are how we're going to start this dream off season, right? Ryan McDonough, Oliver Bjorkstrand. And we're going to talk about Bjorky a little more later, too. At the moment, McDavid and Kaprizov lead a pretty deep, no, not pretty deep, a very deep, very stacked 2026 UFA class. Centers include McDavid, Jack Eichel, right? And Ansi Kopitar, the ageless wonder, still doing crazy things for the Kings out there. Other on the wing, we have Panarin, Alex Ovechkin, Kaprizov. On defense, there's Makar, Jacob Trouba, Ryan McDonough as well. There's still a lot of the free agents next summer will be older, like McDonough, but a lot of them can still contribute in a pretty successful manner. Goalie, not too much. A lot of aging starters like the Devils' Jacob Markstrom, Carey Price, who's on long-term injured reserve with the Sharks. He might not even play ever for the Sharks, honestly. And Sergei Bobrovsky as well, Bob. So, we talked about Bob a few weeks ago as well. Now, a dream offseason would probably start with, not probably, it would start with re-signing McDonough, re-signing Moser, re-signing Bjorkstrand. Those three players are pretty integral to what we do. Now, I hesitate because this is what I'm thinking for the re-signings at least. McDonough, 2 to 3 years, 4 to 5 million a year, probably 4.5 million. He's making a lot more than that right now, but let's be real, he'll be 37 next summer, 36, 37, and he's just not going to make as much as he used to. This is how it works. Also, Moser, 5 years, around 4 million as my projection, I think. But if he gets better this year, it's probably going to go up. And I have Bjorkstrand at 6 years at 5.5 million per year. He's 31. That deal would time to take him to 37, 38 years old, and he would maybe retire as a Bolt, which would be great, right? Because a lot of our recent trade acquisitions have wanted to stay. Sometimes we can't afford him, but I think Bjorkstrand will be one that we can, especially because he's going to be pretty important on that second line. But you guys want to hear about the other free agents we're going to sign, don't you? Like I said, as nice as McDavid, Makar, Eichel would be, Kaprizov, all of them, Primo's probably only going to add one major star, and he needs to add one major star. At least one. And we'll dive further into that tomorrow. But at least one of them needs to be brought aboard, right? Because this team needs, once again, next wave. Next wave. We've been harping on the next wave. It can do that. These players can do that. Another name I'm really interested in is Simon Nichik, the defenseman from the Devils. Now, he's young, Very young. But he's going to be a restricted free agent next year, and they have not worked out a long-term deal like with the Hughes. You know, the Devils are kind of spinning their tires with a lot of these guys that need new deals. And, you know, I'm really interested to see if we can bring in. There's a couple restricted free agents I want to sign next summer as long as they're free. Here are the signings. We're going to sign Kaprizov at 8 years, $14 million per. Now, I know he rejected $16 million per from the Wild, but reportedly he doesn't want to be there anymore. Now, it's just rumors, just reports, nothing concrete. But apparently he doesn't want to be there. He apparently, via NHL insider Michael Russo, he likes the Bolts. He's interested in us. The Hurricanes are interested in him. The Blackhawks, other contenders, other teams that want to add to their offense. And why not, right? He'll be 29 next summer, so yeah, he'll be smack dab in the middle of his prime. Will the tail end of this contract age well? Who knows? Possibly. You know, but I think it's going to take a big deal to bring him in. It might take you more than $14 million a year. It could take 15, it could take 16. He just rejected 16 from the Wild. But I think it's because he does not want to be there. So, how do you juggle it? 8 years at $14 million is a lot. But, I mean, Mitch Marner's got 8 years at $12 million. And I'd have Kaprizov over Mitch Marner. Three other unrestricted free agent signings, or technically two of them will be restricted free agent signings. One of them I really want is Simon Nichik. 5 years, $7 million per. Possibly have to work out a deal with the Devils to get that done. I think it can happen. The other one is Trevor Zegras. He was just acquired by the Flyers from the Ducks. Was there for a long time. Has the skills to be a very, very, very good center, as we all know, right? He's already been a cover athlete for NHL. You know, the kid can be a star. The Flyers trade is interesting because if he plays well under Torts up there, I think he could probably play well here as well. I have him at 7 years, $8 million per. And then the last signing, you guys know, you're probably sick and tired of hearing me harp on this, but it's the goaltending situation. We need to improve Bassey's backup. Jacob Markstrom. He'll be 36. Okay? So he's getting up there. But he's going to be in a 1A, 1B situation this year with the Devils, along with Jake Allen. So when we talked about Jake Allen, y'all know I'm a fan of Jake Allen. Markstrom, 3 years, $4.5 million per. So if we're doing the math, let's see, we're going to be adding $9 million, $13 million, $27 million. That's a lot. There's a lot. But remember, we're going to have people leave. We're going to have to finagle some things. We're probably going to do a trade or two. I'm interested to see what's going to happen. Because next summer, at the moment, it's absolutely stacked. It's ridiculous how deep this free agent class is. A potential first line, Kaprizov, Points, Kucherov. Try stopping them fully up in the playoffs. You're going to have a problem. You're going to have a pretty big issue. But let's talk about Bjorky for a little more. Let's talk about how this deal will look, right? Now, there's a few different ways it could go about. It's, at the moment, I have him projected at 6 years, $5.5 million a season. He's coming off a 5-year, $27 million deal that pays him $5.4 million a year. So this will be a slight bump. But here's the reason why it's only a slight bump. Because we're giving him the longer term. Furthermore, he's going to be 31 next offseason. So, you know, at 6 years, that'll be 37. Pretty close to being retired. Now, he's still in the tail end of his prime. He's still playing great hockey. You know, I think this real first full year with us is going to kind of push him forward and make him into a true contributor for this team. If he has a solid first full season with us, Breeboy's going to go hard to re-sign him. We know he likes to re-sign his current players and bring them back. So it's really going to be important to see just how well he does this season. Started his career in Columbus, spent the last 2 years in Seattle. Is he going to be like a lot of trade pickups where they love living and playing here in Tampa under Coop and with Breeboy and the front office that supports everything? You know, I think it's highly possible, especially if he plays well this year and continues his, you know, usual pace, usual put out. He's going to be on that second line. It's important that we boost the offense to get past these teams. We've harped on depth, offense, and defense. Bjorky helps with that. I think a re-signing of him next summer, especially if he plays well, will do good. But third or fourth line need help, right? Could Sam O'Reilly show up this year? It's possible. He's a back-to-back OHL champion with the London Knights. He's only 19 right now. All right, he was selected with the 32nd overall pick in the 2024 draft. Last season, 84 combined games, including regular season, postseason, and the Memorial Cup. 98 points. Look, I'm not saying he's going to do that at the NHL level. The athletic scoring problem doesn't think he's going to do that at the NHL level. But man, that's over a point per game. That's always what we're looking for, right? Bolts need a fourth line center, right? Gergensons is okay, but, we really need someone that's impactful and that will, drive that fourth line, that will be a standard bearer for this team for the next years. Why not Sam O'Reilly? Do I think it's going to happen at a trade again? Probably not. Do I think it's going to happen in the first couple months of the season? Probably not. Do I think it could happen in the second half? Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, he's going to be in training camp with the other top prospects. He's going to be playing in front of the coaches. They're going to get to see him day in and day out. According to Corey Proman, he looks like he's going to be a potential third-line center. That's great. We need that. We need the depth. If we need more than that, before I could give that, that'd be awesome. He's really going to need time with AHL Syracuse because, that's the stepping stone, right? That's the knock on the door. You're right there. If you play well at Syracuse, at some point you're going to come up and play for us. So I think once we get him to Syracuse, so he really shows he can do it, then that's going to be an option for us this year. But we also have more options with a what if. Ilya Samsonov. So I know that people don't get too excited about number 2 goalies and all this other stuff. But remember, right, we've been talking about the last few days. This whole Jonas Johansson thing, I worry because if Vasi goes down, is he going to be able to pick up the pieces? I don't think he will be able to. I just don't see it. I want to be wrong. Being wrong is perfectly fine with me, but I just don't know. And I hate to be that guy, but I don't know if he can handle it. Samsonov, however, can definitely handle a number 2. Now, spent last season the number 2 goalie with Vegas. Robin Leonard was hurt, right? So, started 29 games, went 16, 9, and 4, 891 save percentage, 2 shutouts. For a number 2 goaltender, that's not bad. It's what we're kind of looking for. We want someone that's going to come in, handle about 20 to 30 games. I would love for somebody to come in and play 30 to 35, even 40, so Vasi really gets a break, but that's not going to happen. So, Samsonov playing 30 games for us, it will be possible, but probably be around 20 to 25 like Johansson does right now. Plenty of starting experience, though. That's why I'm high on him. Okay, he started for the Capitals for a few years to begin his career. 2 seasons with Toronto after that before going to Vegas. His first season with the Leafs was his best, hands down. Started 40 games, playing in 42. 27, 10, and 5 record. 919 save percentage, 4 shutouts. Not Vasi numbers. Well, I mean, the save percentage is pretty good. But not true Vasi numbers. But hey, that's not bad, and that was only a couple of years ago. So Wood playing under Franz Gene, Wood playing under Cooper, helped kind of push him back towards that level? I'm not sure, especially if he doesn't get, every single, not every single game, but reps almost every single game. Could be a number 1 at times, but he needs those reps, and he won't get that at Tampa. He'd be the number 2 behind Vasi, which is fine. It's not a big deal. He would be an improvement on Jonas Johansson because of the experience. They're roughly around the same age. If you want someone that has shown he could be a number 1 goalie in the right situation, it's not a bad option for a number 2. So tomorrow we're going to dive in furthermore nightmare scenarios, which we don't like to hear about, but we will discuss them. We're going to talk a little more about our GM and as well as our minor league system, and of course close out with a what if. So this is Jordan Llanes signing off, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Have a good one.